Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here again. My apologies, technology is being, I don't know what tonight. It's just playing havoc. The Wi-Fi here at the campground, which was really good last time, is not that good. My phone was not being a very good hotspot. I now actually have the hotspot on, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this time we can get through the Facebook Live before everything craps out again. Today was travel day. It was an awesome drive through from Tucson to Phoenix, where I am in Mesa. Back at Mesa Spirit, which is the one I was at last time when I was here in the area. So if you want to see what the campground looks like, I'm in the exact same campground. I am in a different spot, completely different, but I'm still near the same fitness center. So I will be going up there over the next few days while I'm here, and they've got this big, huge stretching frame, which I used in a physical therapist's office one time, and it is awesome. Oh, I loved that frame. I love getting good stretches, and it means I can go in there and I can stretch out my spine, which I feel like is compressed. It needs to be stretched a little bit. Probably needs a good chiropractic treatment. So Dr. Corey, if you're watching this, when I get back in the San Diego area, I am making an appointment to come see you. And get some cricks and cracks done. But yeah, I want to go do some gentle stretches on my ankles and but most especially my spine, get that stretched out, the glutes and the hamstrings, and just basically have a good all over stretch in the stretching frame in the fitness center here at Mesa Spirit. So that'll be really good. The drive through today was awesome, although it did get really hot. I started at like 75 degrees when I left Tucson. By the time I got here, it was 88. For those in New Zealand, that's close to 30. Started in the 20s and now I was in the 30s. Totally lost train of thought. It was a good run through. But what is it with people not using their turn signals? People, please, if you are changing lanes, use your turn signal. Don't go into and watch your distances. I mean, don't cut in front of like an RV or a truck. The number of times we had to slam on our brakes because we don't stop in small areas. We take a long time to stop. So do not cut us off when we've got to slam on our brakes. It is not good. Things can go flying in the RV. Yes, thankfully it was just a hand weight that fell down the back of the couch, but that was okay. But use your turn signals. Most truck drivers are good with this. Most of those that are towing trailers are good with this, but just regular people in like pickup trucks, the small rental trucks, a lot of cars, you have a turn signal. Use the frickin' thing. All right. That is the end of my public announcement service. All right, back to the trip. So yeah, basically it was a good trip. There was one part where it was really, really rough, and you can see all the cars going as we're all going over this bit. And it was during one of those safety corridor things, and like it was like 20 miles long, and it was rough. It was rough. So I slowed down to like 50 in a 75-mile-an-hour zone, and yeah, had people zipping around me and trucks zipping around me. But I mean, I couldn't go any faster because of the way that the road was with all the river. And even if I moved over to the other lane, it was the exact same thing. The road was shocking for this 20-mile stretch. So up until that 20-mile stretch, everything was perfectly fine. It was a nice smooth ride. Get past that 20-mile stretch, a nice smooth ride, except for people who don't use their turn signals. Oh, hang on, we're already off that topic. Get off it. All right. So yeah, otherwise it was a really good travel day up here today. The weather was gorgeous. Took a couple of breaks where I just went out for a walk around outside and came back in, had something to drink and a snack, and then got back behind the wheel. In fact, in one of them I just sat and read for a bit because I really didn't feel like getting back behind the wheel. I stopped at the rest area because I was fed up going and I wasn't sure how far it was going, so I had to give myself a break. And the funny thing was, I'm sitting here reading and having a snack and a drink, and I still felt like I was going and I was sitting still. The RV was not moving. I was parked between two trucks. There was no wind around. In fact, there was another thing today. There was no wind. It was awesome. There was 2 times that I had wind gusts, only 2. And they were not in those areas that said blowing dust areas. It was not in those areas. It was outside those areas. So obviously the wind cannot read the signs as to where it's supposed to be, but Today is also the 6 month. It was on the 5th of May this year, 6 months ago today, that I moved into Sparkles full time. Purchased her on the 4th of May and moved into her on the 5th of May. Why do I keep saying the 6th? It was the 5th of May because today's the 5th. And during that time, when I got picked up Sparkles, she had 22,109 miles on her. As of today, when I pulled in here into the parking space, she had 27,038. And if my math is correct, that's 4,929 miles I have driven in the last 6 months. And 3,227 of those miles were with my parents. So I've done almost 2,000 miles by myself. So in the 6 months, I have loved every single minute of it. If I did not have family back in California, I would keep touring around. I would have stayed in Tucson longer. Tucson was just amazing. I loved it down there. Although I'm here in Mesa, I pick up a rental car tomorrow. And then I can go tootling around. I'm going to go up to Apache Junction, which is like 15 minutes down the road. In fact, it's like 5 minutes from where the rental. I get on the street out front here of the RV resort, go 12 minutes that way, and there's the rental car agency, and then like 5, 6, 7 minutes beyond that is Apache Junction. So one's on the way to the other. So I'm going to do that tomorrow. Pick up the rental car, then go up to Apache Junction and spend the day up there. They've got a ghost town up there. They've got this whole thing about Superstition Mountain and all the myths and legends and mysteries surrounding it, which I can't wait to hear about. What else do they have there? Oh, I can't remember, and I don't have the brochure out. It's all packed away. So yes, I'm looking forward to doing that. And like I said, if I didn't have family back in California that I needed to go back and get in contact with, got to see the grandkids and see the kids, see the boys, see the grandkids. And of course, we've got Thanksgiving coming up. It's a good time to reconnect with the family again. Then I would just keep traveling around. I mean, I'm having such a blast on this road trip. It's awesome. So yes, so that's tomorrow. Thursday, I am meeting with the tourism boards of, and I probably packed it away. Knowing me, it is sitting in one of my bags that has yet to be unpacked. But I know there was Thailand and Kenya. Oh, here it is. Okay, so on Thursday, I'm meeting with the tourism boards representatives for Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti, Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, South Africa, and Kenya. Now, some of you have already sent me questions about these regions. If you have a question, submit it to me by a private message, and that way I can ask them on Thursday when I see them. It's a full day of training and meetings, so it's going to be awesome. It's right here in Phoenix. It's about 20 minutes from where I'm staying, so that's going to be amazing. Friday, I don't know what I'm doing yet. Saturday, I leave, and I'm going to start the trek back to the San Diego area. I'm probably going to do the reverse of what I did to get here. So that'll be staying at River Breeze there in, I can't remember the name, but it's off exit 1 on the 10, just inside Arizona, right there by the Colorado River. And then from there, I'll go to Palm Springs. So I'll do a couple of nights there, go to Palm Springs for a couple of nights, then down to Wilderness Lakes, get the car out of storage. So I'll be reunited with Animal. Well, I'm kind of enjoying doing the rental car thing. Yes. Maybe after this stay in San Diego, I just might let go of Animal. I don't know. I've had Animal for 15 years. I really like driving her. He's a good little car. He hasn't even got 100,000 K on the clock, and he's 15 years old. He's almost there. He's got 98 or 99,000. I can't remember. But yes, I'll pull him out of storage when I get back. And then before Thanksgiving, I head down to Escondido. So I'll be in the San Diego area again. But I need to go and clear my mailboxes. They're probably full. And one of them has probably got this huge pile of parcels that I told to ship to wherever I was, and they shipped them to their regular address. So yes, so today's 6th-month anniversary, and I am really loving this. I'm wanting to go driving some more, but I know some of the places I want to go to, there's things called snow, and Sparkles is not equipped to handle snow. She is a 3-season vehicle. She is not a 4-season vehicle. I'm not exactly sure what it would take to make her a 4-season vehicle. I've been into some of the groups and stuff, and they're talking about installation tape and extra padding, and I'm like, I have no clue how to do any of that. And what if I miss a pipe? And how do I get into some of those pipes in there? And all this sort of thing. So maybe I'll investigate it for next winter. Before then, who knows? So yeah, technology challenges today. Watched Thunderball last night. It was awesome. That was number 4 on my James Bond list. Hang on, number 3, number 4. Where I watched the making of Thunderball again. They started writing. This was actually the very first book that Ian Fleming wanted to turn into a movie. And in 1959, he actually hired a screenwriter to convert Thunderball into a movie, but he got fed up with the screenwriting process, so canceled the whole project and went back to writing his James Bond novels. And then they actually wanted to, and then when Broccoli and Saltzman got together, they actually wanted to do Thunderball first, but because there was all this legal wrangling around Thunderball at the time, they couldn't do it, so they made Dr. No, and then From Russia with Love, and then Goldfinger. And in 1964, the deal was struck to make Thunderball. And they brought back Terence Young because he did Dr. No and From Russia with Love. Goldfinger was done by Guy Hamilton for the director. So they brought back Terence Young. The problem with Thunderball, and this is just where it comes into amazing, amazing stuff, is 25% of the movie is underwater. There's these huge scenes underwater, these huge action scenes underwater. And so all the crew had to learn how to use aqualungs. So they could be down there and filming, and all the specialized equipment and stuff that they needed to use because you're now underwater. And then how they were coming up with these ideas of the types of crafts they wanted, and then trying to find people to make these crafts and things. And keeping with their beauty queen theme, they had a former Miss France became the Bond girl for Thunderball. So remember in Goldfinger they had Goldfinger. No, hang on. I got to go back. From Russia with Love, they had the 3 beauty queens in there, in that one. One played the Bond girl and the other 2 played the Gypsy girls. This one they used in Thunderball. They had a former Miss France who became the Bond girl in this one. They started filming on February the 16th, 1965, and they were filming in France, and it coincided with the French premiere of Goldfinger. And one of the things that they did is they borrowed this jetpack thing, because this is the one where you see James Bond flying away in the jetpack thing with the rockets on his back and the hand controls. There is only 2 people at the time that were able to fly this jetpack, and they managed to get one of the guys to come in and fly the jetpack, and they didn't want Bond wearing a helmet while this is being flown, and the guy turned around and went, no way, because wearing a helmet was just not James Bond. But the guy turned around and says, I am not flying it without a helmet. So James Bond had to don on a helmet. On March 22nd, 1965, they flew into Nassau with all their crew, their equipment, everything, because a lot of the filming is done around the Bahamas and around Nassau. And there was a whole bunch of press that followed them this time. And Sean Connery was just getting hounded by the press. So he granted one interview. And you can find it, one interview during filming, and you can find it in the Playboy edition that came out in 1965 with that interview in it. And this one I found really, really cool. Because I remember the scene in the movie, So there's a scene where James Bond is in a pool with sharks. And he did not want to get into the water with the sharks. So the guys came up with getting this plexiglass to put down in the water so that the sharks would swim one side and he could swim the other side. And, of course, the sharks would kind of bump into it and swim off and all that sort of stuff because I'd see him there and all that. But what they didn't tell Sean Connery at the time is that there was a 4-foot gap in the plexiglass because they didn't have enough plexiglass to do the whole thing. So there's this one scene where he swims through this tunnel, comes out on the other side, and the shark had been released to go into the pool through this tunnel, and he went through the 4-foot gap, so he ended up on the same side as Sean Connery. Now Sean Connery's got this thing in his mouth, like a little miniature breather thing, and the look on his face, his eyes bugged out, and they said it was complete natural reaction because he was not expecting the shark to come through the plexiglass because he didn't know there was a 4-foot gap. But so if you're watching Thunderball and you see that reaction when he's swimming through and his eyes suddenly go big, and it's all, they also, the film crew said they'd never seen anybody get out of the pool so fast before. So they then opened on the 21st of December 1965 and smashed all box office records. And then they did a little bit on the background of Ian Fleming and about how he started writing the James Bond movies. He came up with the ideas because he was due to get married for his first time at age 40 something, 41, 43, or something like that. And he was so nervous that he sat down and wrote these spy novels to help calm his nerves down. But the really cool part was that he said he wanted a character with a flat, quiet name. And he happened to look down on his desk, and there was a book called Birds of the West. It was his Bible there. It was the Birds of the West Indies, and it was written by James Bond. And he thought, I'm stealing that. He stole it. He put it in the book, and as they say, the rest is history. And in 1965, he sold just over 6.6 million copies of James Bond books. Do you think this is 1965? So that's a lot of books. And Christmas 65, the world just went nuts on James Bond. If there was a shirt or a tie or socks or underwear, shorts, T-shirts, toys, toys galore. Everything had 007 or James Bond written on it, labeled, and that was just selling like hotcakes. In 1966, Thunderball won the second Oscar. The first Oscar was won in 1965 for Best Sound Editing for Goldfinger. And in 1966, John Steers won an Oscar for Thunderball for Best Visual Effects. And this interview was done in 1992 because it was done as part of the 40th and 30th anniversary. And he said, and he's actually showing the Oscar in the interview and the special features. And he said it's probably the last time you ever saw a single name on an Oscar for special effects. And I'm kind of thinking, yeah. But I mean, think about this, 1965, they're putting out a movie a year. They start creating that movie at, January, February timeframe. They start filming it. And in the case of From Russia with Love, it was April. And they're pushing to get this thing out by Christmas, October, November, December release dates. This is back in those days where they did not have the technology we have today. And yet it's now taking, 2-3 years to make a movie these days, because they do all the filming and everything else, and then it's all over to the editing people in the rooms with their computers and their graphics and stuff. Go back to 1965, in the 60s, where they didn't have this technology, and they're churning out a movie within a year, within months. It's just mind-blowing. So, good on these guys for doing the special effects and the Oscars that they won. There have been other Oscars won by other James Bond movies, but we will get to those when we get to those movies. And in the 50th anniversary facts and things that came out, and so back in 2012 they celebrated the 50th anniversary of James Bond because it was 50 years since Dr. No had been released, and they in one of the facts and figures that came out from the 50th anniversary, there's actually a book you can get. Yes, you can. And they said that Thunderball was the most successful James Bond ever. So at that point, there have been 20-something movies that come out at that point of James Bond. And Thunderball, done back in 1965, was the most successful. And when they made all the adjustments for inflation and all of that over the years, it basically equals that Thunderball has raked in just over $1 billion in revenue. And it is the most, and up until 2012, it was the most successful Bond movie ever. So, yeah, and I just tell you, it's awesome. All the underwater scenes are amazing. The underwater fights are just really, really cool. Just the whole thing around Thunderball, because it was sort of like it was almost like every scene, Sean Connery's in the water. But and there was funny things in there, like they're in the wheelhouse of the yacht there, and they're zooming along, and you look out the window, and you can tell they've sped up the film. It's just it just cracked me up. But it's just amazing. Something from 1965 up until 2012, was the most successful James Bond movie ever. I don't know if that's still true or not. I just know this from the 50th anniversary facts, book stuff, information that came out. So tonight we are watching You Only Live Twice, and that came out in 1967. Still got Sean Connery, and we are still running the competition through it. Don't forget, we're still running the competition through the end of the month as to name the very first James Bond movie that I saw on my very first date. What was the name of that movie? What was the name of that James Bond movie that I saw, and who was playing James Bond? So there's something for you. That's your trivia. Private message, and I'm only accepting answers via private messenger. So you'll have to private message me through Facebook. It's the only way I'm accepting. If you put them into comments or anything, they're going to be disregarded. Even if you're correct, it will get disregarded. There are prizes at the end for the winner or winners that will be announced on December the 1st. So this goes through till midnight Pacific. Midnight Pacific. I think I'll still be in that time zone. Yes, I'll still be in that time zone then. And then on the 30th of November, and then on the December the 1st, on that Facebook Live, we will announce the winner of that one. And I didn't have time to look up a fun fact about the movie, so I will have one for you tomorrow night. Another clue. So your first clue is that it was the very first, I was on my very first date when I saw this particular James Bond movie that got me hooked on James Bond. Okay, that's it from me. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys tomorrow. Hej con era.